So one big question in the Oklahoma Sooners rooms for this coming season has got to be quarterback, right? And there's been a lot of takes around what things could look like for Jackson Arnold, what it is, what it ain't. But it's crazy. I was watching Oklahoma Breakdown earlier this week, and they had a special guest on. And this expert dropped a bomb on there to me about Jackson Arnold and about a few other things around Oklahoma and the SEC and Texas. And I put the link in the description below so you all can go in and check it out and show support to Oklahoma Breakdown with Gabe and Teddy. But I was intrigued by what was said. So let's dive into it. We'll talk Jackson Arnold. We'll talk Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC, and kind of give some thoughts around what I heard in said interview. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. All right. First off, hop in the comments. Let your boy know your thoughts. You think Jackson Arnold has a chance of winning the Heisman? I want to go specific there. Talk to me and let me know your thoughts. We would love to hear from you all and for you all to join the conversation. But let's dive into what Andy Staples from On 3 was talking about when he was talking to Teddy and Gabe and what jumped out to me about his assessment about Jackson Arnold. Let's talk about it. So first off, when Andy got on there, of course, he talked about a lot of things. He talked about, like I said, Jackson Arnold, quarterback spot, what OU in Texas and the SEC. Talked about the new NCAA game that's coming out. A lot of things. House versus the NCAA. Ton of great topics. So in the description, you'll see the video. But the bigger one here was Jackson Arnold, right? And he made a proclamation that I was like, oh, I can see that. So first off, we all know Jackson's coming in as, true freshman, played one game as a starter. Well, one game as a starter, played in the BYU game, as you see the footage rolling here. And Andy talked about, the assessment of Jackson Arnold. But the good thing is that he pointed out we had really one game of data, and it's not really enough for a true freshman, right? He had moments where he shined. He had other moments where he looked like a true freshman. And if you know me well enough, if you've been around here for a while, for the uninitiated, tell you I don't like true freshmen playing like that, right? I don't mind them playing late in the season and getting some reps, but true freshmen are going to do true freshman thing. That's just the nature of the beast, the learning and figuring things out. But what jumped out to me that Andy was talking about was he pointed out how Jackson Arnold was a quarterback that a lot of schools wanted. So in that class, right, that 2023 class was lit. Like, if I'm being honest, man, there's some quarterbacks in here that potentially could be really, really good. So, I mean, just going through the top 10 here, you had Arch Manning that went to Texas, Dante Moore, who ended up at UCLA and now plays at Oregon, Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee, everybody loved, Jackson Arnold, Malachi Nelson, who left USC and went to Boise State, Jaden Rashada, who's moved everywhere and now is a Georgia Bulldog, Eli Holstein, who was at Bama. You got Christopher Vazina over there at Clemson, Avery Johnson, K-State, and then Austin Novosad, who has also moved around, but he's at Oregon. And so the big thing that jumped out, he said that the quarterback out of that class, a lot of coaches that he's talked to said if anybody in that class they wanted Jackson Arnold. And we've seen that, right? We've heard about the appeal of him. He's a 5-star plus, so every site gave him the 5-star rankings. He's got the size. I know he's bigger than 6 foot. He's probably 6'1", 6'2", close, 200 something pounds. He does have everything you're looking for in a starting quarterback. That's the thing that really jumped out to a lot of people is Jackson Arnold looks like a college football quarterback, and he has probably one of the higher upsides and a very high floor. Like, to me, when I looked at this class, I thought that Jackson Arnold had the highest floor. I think that he's the one that was going to be just good regardless. I think Nico Iamaleava's got the highest upside just because he's pretty freakishly athletic, strong arm, volleyball kid, can play. And, I mean, I don't knock Arch Manning like everybody else does, even with his last name. I think Arch Manning's probably going to be a really good college quarterback, right? I don't know if he's going to be earth-shattering or if he's going to live up to the number one ranking, but I do think he's going to be really good. So out of the 4 5-star plus quarterbacks in Jackson Arnold, Malachi Nelson, Dante Moore, as well as Arch Manning, I felt like Jackson was the best, and I thought Nico was right behind him. We'll see how it pans out, but I thought it was interesting that Andy pointed out that other coaches that he's talked to around the nation, and Andy talks to a lot of top coaches and programs, a lot of them said that they wanted Jackson Arnold. That's a really good thing for Oklahoma, right? We've got the quarterback that a lot of other teams want to get their hands on. So this boy ain't complaining. But then he also went in and talked a little bit about Oklahoma versus Texas. Now, this to me was also a very interesting conversation because he pointed out something that I've been telling every single one of y'all to keep in mind about Oklahoma and about us going to the SEC. We gonna figure it out. And Andy pointed out that everywhere that Oklahoma's been, they figured out a way to be at the top. They've always found a way. It's consistently found that way. They're never just horrible. They've had some, what we would consider bad season, but for other schools, that would be a fantastic season to have in a quote-unquote rebuild. But they always consistently find a way to be up there at the top. And he even pointed out during the Mac Brown era at Texas and how good Texas was, because Mac Brown was a really good coach at Texas. And when he locked in, he was locked in. He was getting talent. Oklahoma still was better, right? I mean, Texas got their natty. They played 2 national championships. They had 4 Big 12 championships total. Oklahoma has 14. In Bob Stoops' era, even going into Lincoln Riley, and now with, Brent Venables, you had 2 losing seasons, technically, if you include the bowl, the entire time, since 2000, right? So, since the turn of the century, winning has been consistent. Got to get props on that. But I like that he pointed out that Texas is getting all the hype today because of what the appearance at their trenches are, right? I don't think that the Bo Davis piece is really being considered much right now for some reason. But on the offensive line, I mean, Banks is most likely going to be a first-round draft pick. That's what he's considered. They've got all their offensive linemen back, so everybody believes that their trenches are going to be good. They think that, they lost Sweat and Murphy, and they're going to immediately replace them when we all know that's not true. I think their linebacker room is a hell of a lot better. I think the linebackers, Anthony Hill, and you got Colin Simmons at the edge, or playing the jack or whatnot they're going to put them at. I think they've got a solid group there, but I think there's still questions at the defensive line as well as the secondary. But we'll see if they answer that. If the players they picked up in the portal, if that answers all those questions. We don't know. We'll see. But I'll tell you this. I like how Andy pointed out the Jackson Arnold piece and how many coaches really wanted him. That to me should tell you, Sooner fans, that I think we're going to be just fine. Now, of course, offensive line he mentioned is a question. I respect that because it makes sense when you lose 5 players. But I also know who our offensive line coach is, and he's done this numerous times. You're going to have those moments where you have to refresh. It's just inevitable. Sometimes some players play a lot and you lose players because other players are better. But it's inevitable. You're going to have to do refreshes. And this is one of those moments. I think Bill Bemo's going to shock y'all. So tell me what y'all think. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I know I've been seeing videos about Jackson Arnold potentially for Heisman. Jackson Arnold could be the future. There's a lot of smoke around him, and it's less about his lack of experience and more about his upside, which I appreciate. Y'all know we keep it positive around here. We keep it excited around here. But kind of curious to how y'all feel about that. If you've made it this far, you like the content, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for y'all to join this family, college football fans. We talk a lot of OU football, SEC, and college football in general, and we're having a blast doing it. All right, I'm going to actually talk about Texas in another video coming up soon, so keep an eye out for this week. I'm really curious about Brett. I'm going to break down who they got, and we're going to talk about that. So, all right, another video coming up. Check out the videos here. We'll talk soon. Peace.